back in spring training, which was, the timing of it was tough, because I was pretty far along in that process. I was doing really well. So the season already was looking very different than I had hoped it would. And, I had to take like a month off of throwing, and that set me back time-wise. But I got to a point where I finally graduated from Florida and started pitching in rehab, on rehab assignment. And in late June, I partially tore the patella tendon in my right knee, at which point I found out that I dealt with tendonitis in that knee for quite a while, and unfortunately, at that point, it was pretty far torn up. It was already too torn up for the cleanup surgery. So our only option really was to try to rehab it and see if we could get everything else in the leg to be as strong as possible, and really just see how far I could get by the end of the season. And I did a lot of work mentally because that was really tough. So I did a lot of work mentally with our mental skills coach. I was working with him every day because I thought about, calling it right then. As the schedule worked out, we had 2 off days. I was with Rochester, and we had 2 off days. So I thought about it, and I said, my goal is, at that point, my goal became, it no longer was about getting back to the big leagues. It was like, let's just see how much progress I can make by the end of the season. And so I went to Florida with a much different mindset, and I threw myself into the work, and I enjoyed it. We stripped it down to the studs, and we were trying to strengthen every part of the leg that we could, and I was making progress. I felt like it just got to a point where I had an outing, which was, at the time, was hopefully going to be my last outing in Florida, and it just wasn't going to let me do it. It went pretty much all the way, and the work that I had done, up to that point, changing my mindset into a more process-oriented mindset, when I got the news about my knee, I knew what it meant for me. I put everything that I had into the rehab processes over the last 2 years to try to pitch again here at Nats Park. I did everything I could, and I think that's why today, for me, this is a happy day. I don't have any regrets. I did everything that I could, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process of working on that stuff, and trying to change my mechanics to see if I could figure out a way to take the stress off my knee and still be effective. And also working with the young guys that were down there was a lot of fun too. So I still was getting a ton of fulfillment out of it. I was enjoying it. Unfortunately, by the end, my body just wasn't going to let me keep doing it.
When you look back on your career with the Nationals, what was your favorite memory in a Nationals game?
It's the World Series for sure. And even inside that, oh my gosh, it's hard to narrow it down to just one, because that whole month was so special. The wild card game, and the way that we won that game, and the party we had in the clubhouse after, and winning Game 5 in LA, and advancing to the National League Championship Series. The World Series parade, I think, might be a highlight, sharing it with the fans. I think that's, for me, that was just so special. The way the fans supported us, it's really hard to narrow it down to just one, but October of 2019 is impossible to beat.
What do you remember about being traded here in 2017, and could you imagine yourself being where you are right now?
No, I did not imagine that when I got traded over here. And I was just talking about it with Riz, and how I had heard my name come up in rumors, in Oakland in previous trade deadlines, and nothing ever happened. And that morning I was getting ready for the game like normal, and it was still 2 weeks before the deadline. So like I didn't think, if anything happened, I didn't think it was going to happen anytime soon. And Bo Mel called me into his office, and David Forrest, the assistant GM at the time, was sitting on the couch, and I was like, oh. I was like, where am I going, I guess, you know? And, found out I was coming here, and I was like, I looked at, I was aware of how good that team was doing that year, and I was like, why do they want me? Like, they actually, this team, these names, like, they think I can help, like, and it helped a lot that I was going with Ryan Madsen, who had, by that point, we'd been in Oakland for a year and a half together, and he had already made a huge impact on my career. And so to come over, I knew some guys over here. I knew Max. I knew Zim from college. I knew Gio a little bit from the A's. I knew Wieters a little bit. So that helped me kind of settle in, and I felt, really at home. And then I felt at home in the clubhouse, and the way the city and the fans embraced us made us feel like we'd been here for quite a while. So it was a smooth transition, and I think, like, the one thing that I was nervous about was the way, like, the fans had accepted me in Oakland. Like, I had a really special bond with the fans in Oakland, and that's something, like, I'm super grateful for, I'll never forget. And, like, I, wasn't sure if I was ever going to be lucky enough to experience that again. And, the way Nats fans embraced us, I couldn't be more appreciative of that.
You mentioned this being a happy day, but this decision to leave baseball, has it been an emotional and difficult one?
Oh, yeah, it's emotional for sure. Like, this is all I've ever wanted to do. And, this was a dream that I've had since I can barely remember. When I was a kid, like, we had a season ticket package to A's games, and, like, I grew up, I fell in love with baseball going to those games. And baseball, I played all sports growing up, but baseball was always my favorite. And, as I've thought about this decision, I've thought back to the sacrifices my family had made, my parents, driving me to lessons and practice, and always after I got my homework done. But, tournaments and showcases, and they sacrificed so much time and energy, rearranging family vacations so that, we could play baseball in the summer, and, like, all the stuff that went into it, and just in general, encouraging this dream that I had. And high school and college and the journey through the minor leagues, and it's like, wow, like, there were times where I've been like, man, like, I'm never gonna play again. Like, that is sad, but, like, I'm so, like, I've been so lucky that, like, as I look back on those moments, like, the gratitude outweighs, like, the sadness. So, like, I'm kind of at a loss for words, because, like, everything just keeps coming back to how appreciative I am of all the opportunities that I've had in my career.
Sean, I know it's still fresh, but have you given any thought to if you want to stay around the game or what you might like to do in your next step?
Yeah, I've thought about it a lot, and, as you get older in your career, I think it's natural to think about it. I've had a bunch of injuries, so I've had time to think about it too. But one thing I kept coming back to is, like, I might be done playing baseball, but I'm not sure if I'm done with baseball. I have a ton of passion and energy left for baseball, and especially everything that I learned, over the last 3, 4, 5 years, trying to keep my career going. I've learned so much, and I've experienced so much throughout my career, and I found myself, like, I got a ton of fulfillment out of working with other guys and trying to help the young guys the way that guys helped me when I was young, when I was coming up in the league and stuff. I got a ton of fulfillment from that. So even though I don't know exactly what, like, it would look like as far as, like, a specific role, I would love to give back to the game. The game did so much for me. I would love to give back to the game and, continue to help the younger generation of players.
What do you hope the mark that you left on baseball is
That's a good question. I haven't thought too much about this yet, because I think my mark, first of all, is outsized for my career. Like, I saw some people post my numbers today, and like, I played 11 years. That's great, but I was hurt for like almost half of it. So, thanks to the union for that. But like, I tried really hard to be a good teammate. Like, I think the route that I took to get to the big leagues, having to switch positions after dealing with injuries, it grounded me with a perspective on how fragile of an opportunity it is to play baseball. And all you can ask for is a chance. And I was very lucky that I got a second chance when the A's came to me and said, "What do you think about pitching? You want to try that again?" So like, I was well aware of how fragile it was, and I tried really hard to never take that for granted. I hope people saw how much I enjoyed playing this game and how much it meant to me to be able to put on a big league uniform. I tried to be open and honest, with you guys and with the fans, because I felt like I owed it to fans. I think as players, we owe it to fans so that we can form that connection with them. And I mean, the fans are what it's all about. Like I said before, I've been so lucky to have been embraced by two different incredible fan bases. And so, I don't know. I'll leave that to you guys.
You mentioned the relationship you built with DC. What do you kind of envision that being moving forward?
What role does it?
Like, do you plan to spend a lot of time with them, or just kind of what do you envision that relationship?
Oh yeah, no. Now that I have time, I'm gonna make sure everybody has their trash cans out on time on the street, and make sure they bring them back in by the next night. I'll make sure they have their leaves cleaned up. I don't know. I mean, we love living here. This is home for us. DC, they're stuck with us.
You mentioned October 19 and all the highlights from that. First half of that year, maybe had to ask a lot from you at a time when your team wasn't performing the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
How proud are you of what you did to help keep things together during that time to give everyone else the chance to then ultimately?
I'm incredibly proud of that season, and I was lucky to be named to a couple All-Star teams, but I'm most proud of that season because of, really, it was a bit of a roller coaster. I started off okay, and then, some of the usage and just the workload kind of caught up to me in August, and I had to press pause and go on the IL for a little bit. But when I came back in September and through the rest of the playoff run, that was some of the best baseball I ever pitched in my career. And going all the way back to when I was switching positions back in 2011 with the A's, I had this mantra of, what do you want the story to be? And that's how I always tried to look at my career. And it was like, in that moment in August, it was like, well, I want the story to be that, forget all the ups and downs of the first half of the season. I want to come out. I'm going to use these 2 weeks to press reset and get my body right, and I'm gonna be a guy for this team. I want Davey to feel like he can depend on me as we push for the playoffs and as we play into October. And that was my whole mindset. And to be able to have been able to contribute the way that I did down the stretch in the playoffs, like, that's probably the thing I'm most proud of in my career.
Davey joked that he could see you as mayor. Is politics in your future?
I got one vote, I guess. So, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I appreciate the sentiment. I'm trying to give a straight answer. No, I don't think so.
Sean, you look back on your career, are you more proud of what you did on the field or off the field?
I think I see it kind of going hand in hand. Like, I was able to pitch well enough and contribute to wins on the field enough that, like, whenever I ran my mouth, like, people listened and they paid attention. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I probably, like, I know, like, I stressed Kyle out a bunch because I would, like, tweet something and I'd show up to the field the next day and he'd be like, "Oh, they want to talk to you." Like, so, like, but, you know, you have to back that up. I mean, I felt like I had to back it up with performance on the field so that I continued to have a platform. If I wasn't pitching well, like, it might not have had as much of an impact. I think that's just the reality of it. So, like, I thought they went hand in hand. You know, baseball obviously was always, like, my priority. It's what I wanted to do my whole entire life. So I made sure to take care of that. And that was in its proper place before I would think about speaking out on anything or doing anything like that. So I think they're tied together.
You made a point of thanking the fans here in DC.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just elaborate on what this community has meant to you.
I mean, they embrace us from day one. You know, like I said, like we were really nervous coming over here from Oakland, and I mean, at the time, like, I'd been with that organization for 10 years, so we knew everybody from the people, the fans to the security guards and the ushers and everybody that worked around the ballpark. And it was like, that was the first time I got, you know, thrown out of my comfort zone. But you really are, when you're challenged like that, you know, from getting pushed out of your comfort zone, like, that's when you have an opportunity to really grow. And the fans welcoming us in from day one, you know, made the transition really, really easy, as easy as it could have been. So, you know, right from the get-go, it felt like they were in our corner. And for the 5 seasons that I was here, the relationship, I felt, only got stronger. So I'm grateful to the fans. They supported me, you know, through some really tough times, and I mean, they stuck with me, and I mean, we'll never forget that.
Thanks, Sean. Thank everybody for coming.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Good.
Do you want a water?
No, yes, thank you. I was going to ask how your off-speed checks are going on.
Yeah. No more questions about what off-speed pitch I'm working on. What have you been working